Well, another inquiry we've been following is the Mokgoro Commission in Pretoria. It's looking into Lawrence Mrwebi and Nongcobo Jiba's fitness to hold office. Both senior NPA officials are serving suspensions. Mrwebi took to the stand for the first time today, and ENCA's Govan Whittles was there and joins me now. So, Govan, this was much anticipated testimony, right? I mean, a lot has been said about Lawrence Mrwebi and Nongcobo Jiba. What did, in essence, what did Lawrence Mrwebi have to say about all these allegations that have been leveled at him? I understand that he took it back to sort of retrace where his problems started in the NPA from the days when he was in the Scorpions?
That's right. Lawrence Mrwebi was actually the head of the Scorpions in KwaZulu-Natal, and he held that position until the Scorpions was disbanded eventually. So his problems within the NPA, and similar line as Willie Hofmeyer here, saying that it all started around the Jackie Selebi case. And if you can remember, Lawrence Mrwebi actually had a statement or affidavit in Jackie Selebi's application for stay of prosecution. So he explained about how that came about. And coincidentally, and this is a piece of information that South Africa only found out today, is that Lawrence Mrwebi says that he was at one point accused, or his office in KwaZulu-Natal was accused of being the source of the infamous Browse Mole report. And he says that a team of investigators sent by the Presidential National Security Council task team to his office to investigate the source of the Browse Mole report ended up asking him about a meeting the Scorpions had about 4 important cases, the Jacob Zuma case and the Jackie Selebi case being one of them. And he deposed an affidavit about that meeting, and he says that after that he thought the affidavit was top secret, but then it ended up being an affidavit in Jackie Selebi's application for stay of prosecution. He put the question to the inquiry, how did this affidavit get declassified? That's something that he still doesn't know, but he says that everything sort of started around that time.
Yeah, I mean, those were politically fraught times, to say the least, and I don't recall that we actually did hear that at one particular point it was pinpointed which division of the then DSO, Directorate Special Operations, the Scorpions, was said to be responsible for the special Browse Mole document production. But then, more or less along the same lines as Willie Hofmeyer and the others who have testified, he also has a number of cases that he says sort of added fuel to the fire in as far as his problems are concerned. What did he say about the Richard Mdluli matter? Right,
so that is the case, the penultimate case which he is being judged against, his fitness to hold office at least. So he spoke about a range of other cases, some of them foreign bribery. But with the Mdluli matter, today, Lawrence Mrwebi digging in his heels, saying that he believes his decision to withdraw those corruption charges against Richard Mdluli was the correct decision based on the evidence at the time. And he's disputing the testimony of Willie Hofmeyer and Glenys Breitenbach, who said that Mrwebi basically killed the investigation into Mdluli. He's saying that all he ever told them is that they need to go out there and find evidence directly linking Mdluli to wrongdoing in the corruption case, and then they're free to re-enroll the case. But he took some time to explain exactly what his concerns were around the Richard Mdluli matter. Let's have a look at what he said.
The problem here you're sitting with is that Mr. General Mdluli is not implicated. He's not. In the fraud case, he is not implicated. This 90,000 we're talking about, in terms of the shortfall that he was supposed to pay, all those transactions were done by his co-accused. I think at some point, I recall in the discussions, we might have to consider, if our investigation does not lead, we might have to consider using the co-accused against him. Those were parts of the discussions. Now, with regard to corruption, for example, because there were allegations of corruption in relation to the 50,000, it was said, by mere of the fact that there's a loan of 50,000 that was granted to General Mdluli, that's sufficient for corruption. I said, guys, it cannot be.
Here's a name that makes people sit up and listen, particularly in the last few weeks after having seen what this person does and can do. Angelo Agrizzi That name came up at that Commission of Inquiry today. In what context?
Yeah, so Lawrence Mrwebi actually had to respond to Angelo Grizi's allegations that he, number one, received a 10,000 Rand a month bribe through the former Correctional Services Commissioner Linda Mti, and number two, that he supplied Mti with confidential documents that the NPA had on the investigation into Bosasa. The long and short of it is he's denying that he ever received any money, and he provided some evidence of emails which showed that he tried to accelerate the investigation into Bosasa. But an important acknowledgement today, Lawrence Mrwebi saying that at one meeting held in the NPA with the prosecutor of the Bosasa case, she raised a concern about the presence of one Ms. Jackie Lapinka, who was the secretary there. And she says that the concern was that Lapinka had been the private secretary of Mr. Linda Mti at the Department of Correctional Services, and they were concerned that information about the case which was being discussed in her presence may be leaked. So it seems as if he's setting the ground for an acknowledgement that there was in fact NPA information that may have gone through to Bosasa.
All right, thank you so much. ENCA's Govan Whittles watching the Mokgoro Commission of Inquiry for us into the fitness or otherwise to hold office of Nongcobo Jiba.